Romans 6 verses 1 and 2. What shall we say then? Are we to continue in sin that grace may abound? By no means. How can we who died to sin still live in it? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, and a special welcome to my subscribers. I hope you are well. On Tuesday, December 3, 2024, Joni released a video in which she gave her side of the story. If you are not familiar with this matter, please see my previous videos. I will share my review with you, highlighting 6 points and what she omitted. 1. Joni shared an alleged incident which occurred in a grocery store before the alleged inappropriate sexual behavior occurred. She stated that Susie said a man was looking at her strangely, but her observation is that the man was looking at his phone. Joni stated that Susie's behavior was bizarre and they had to calm her down. In other words, Susie is delusional and not a reliable source. Joni, even if this story is true, why would you share it publicly? 2. Joni stated that the alleged sexual encounter with Pete and Jonathan's daughter did not occur. It was a misunderstanding. She explained that Pete was holding a baby and he went to the room with her grandson. She stated that they were discussing the ocean and city view from the room. Joni said her granddaughter went to the room afterwards and decided to change in her bathing suit from her side of the room. At that time, Pete and her grandson were still talking about the view and looking out the window from the other side of the room. So it was a large room and they were at different sides. She said Jonathan burst into the room shouting, "What are you doing in here?" while she is changing. Joni stated that Pete was taken aback and said, I am sorry. She further said that she does not know if he had even seen anything because he was holding the baby and talking to her grandson. This perspective is different from Susie's in that she said Pete went to the room after her daughter and not before. She also said when Jonathan went to the room, he saw Pete staring at his naked daughter. Joni's version is concerning for several reasons. Firstly, she was not in the room, which means that someone told her what happened. It is likely she heard both sides and chose to believe Pete. Secondly, if we are to believe Joni's version, Pete is an adult who is not the little girl's caregiver. When she enters the room to change, the appropriate action for him to have taken was leave. Why would he remain in the room? Thirdly, Joni said, and I quote, around the same time or a few minutes later, I don't know exactly when, my granddaughter went up to the room. This suggests that she did not see when the little girl went up to the room. Then, how can she be certain that Pete was in the room before she entered? Okay, let us give her the benefit of the doubt. She saw her granddaughter going up to the room and she knew Pete was there, but yet she allowed her to go. So Joni believes it is okay for her granddaughter to be naked in the room with Pete. Joni, Lord have mercy. Fourthly, Joni stated that she does not know if Pete had even seen anything because he was holding the baby and talking to her grandson. Didn't she ask him if he had seen her naked or was staring at her? That question should have been part of the investigation. I believe Pete is socially aware. To think otherwise would be embarrassing for him. Therefore, he would have seen the little girl enter the room and started changing, assuming Joni's version is accurate. Joni, if Pete is socially aware, he can see what is happening around him while holding a baby and talking to Jonathan's son. 3. Joni said there was no cover-up. The family held a meeting and concluded that nothing happened. She said they worked through the misunderstanding and Jonathan and Susie apologized. She did not explain how they arrived at the conclusion that it was a misunderstanding. According to the Roy's report, Jonathan and Susie said Joni had told them that the investigation was completed and Pete was innocent. Also, Joni said God told her that Pete was innocent. Perhaps this is why they apologized. They believed her. Sadly, they later learned that Joni and or Marcus had given instructions to prematurely end the investigation. 4. Joni refers to Julie Royce as a low-level blogger. This unchristlike description has a condescending tone. James 4 and verse 6. God opposes the proud but shows favor to the humble. 5. Joni shared that her children and Susie initially accepted her relationship with Doug Weiss. She stated that they became unsupportive when she told them that he would be her co-host. She said Susie was displeased and influenced Jonathan. Eventually, her children began expressing concerns and suggested that she should slow down her relationship. Maybe they began opposing her relationship after they were made aware of certain scriptures which suggest her pending marriage might not be honorable before God, and not because of Doug being her co-host. 6. Joni stated that when her kids asked her to slow down, she was intent on having her June wedding, hence, she did not heed their warning. It is interesting to note that she was not willing to consider their views and feelings, but she wanted them to consider hers. What do you think? 5 things Joni omitted from her explanation. 1. The reason she and Marcus prematurely terminated the internal investigation. 2. How they determined the allegation did not occur and was a misunderstanding. 3. Whether or not God told her Pete was innocent. 4. Why she and Marcus did not report the suspected abuse to the relevant authorities. 5. She stated that she sought advice from trusted advisors and friends before marrying Doug. She did not mention if she searched the scriptures to ascertain God's position. Psalm 36 and verse 3. The words of her mouth are trouble and deceit. She has ceased to act wisely and do good. After reviewing Joni's response, I am more inclined to believe Jonathan and Susie. I pray that God will open Joni's eyes to the truth and she will do what pleases him. I pray for Jonathan and Susie that they will continue to depend on God for strength, wisdom, and guidance. In God's timing, may he provide healing for the family, especially Jonathan and Susie's daughter. In closing, my advice to Joni is to study and practice God's word, and it will be well with her, her family, and ministry. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoy this content, kindly consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. May God's richest blessings be yours. Walk good and be kind to everyone you meet.